As you all know, in an effort to stop the exponential growth of this virus, we took some aggressive measures. While most schools around the state had already moved to virtual options, we believed it reached a point where it was necessary to instruct all schools to go to that model until January the 4th. And this, for most schools, is the last week of instruction before that date anyways. As promised, we said we were going to work on the conditions under which a school in a red county could still have some form of in-person instruction. And we told you we were going to work on ensuring the safety, especially of the educators, those in the building that fall in the at-risk categories. So today, I'm outlining our new public health guidance for Kentucky schools. Now, what you're going to hear today are the general tenets that we are working under. We are still collecting some suggestions. We are still finalizing the language, but we want to give everybody a head start in thinking through how to make this work, but also how to do it safely. So first, there is not going to be a change in the way the incident rate is calculated in each county. We're not changing what makes it red or orange or the rest. That was a system that Dr. Stack created in consultation with CDC guidance. So what's red is red. That's when they think that community transmission is high. But recognizing how well schools have operated, the recommendations and requirements for each color code are changing. In other words, what can be done in orange and what can be done in red. So the primary change here is that once a county reaches orange, we recommend that they begin a hybrid model of learning that decreases the volume, the number of individuals inside any school facility, knowing that if we can decrease that number, almost like capacity when we look at other businesses, that it's safer and that it's easier to get 6 feet in between individuals. And so our recommendation on orange, and this hasn't changed, is a hybrid or a remote learning model. Now, the major change is when you hit red. And in red, our recommendations, and again, there's going to be some requirements we will talk about as well, are that you consider remote learning or you more aggressively implement that hybrid model. In other words, starting January 4th, there can be in-person instruction in red counties. But our recommendation is that it is done through a more aggressive hybrid model than would be used in orange, whereby we continue to decrease the number of individuals that are going to be in a school building at any point in time. Those are the changes in the color-coded recommendations. But to operate in this manner, a couple other things have to be done. First, every school must provide a meaningful virtual option to students whose families opt into it that cannot negatively impact the virtual student's GPA, class rank, or other educational opportunity or recognition. We have had at least one instance of a school system that did not offer its AP classes virtually, meaning we had students that have pre-existing conditions that make COVID especially dangerous for them, having to decide whether their class rank is going to be impacted or whether they were going to go into an environment they believed is unsafe. To operate in a red county with community transmission this high, we can't require and we can't allow students to have to make that choice. Now, this will impact only a small number of districts, but if we're going to operate when a county is red, we have to provide this meaningful virtual option that does not negatively impact the students that take it. Next big piece, schools must accommodate and provide an accommodation to educators and employees who fall into the high-risk category. Now, these options, these accommodations can come in different forms, and we'll be using the high-risk categories that the CDC has outlined. But if you have employees that are 65 and older, that have heart, lung, or kidney disease, these are employees that must be provided some accommodation. This is what keeps them safe. To say we're going to go to school when our county is red and force employees who are more susceptible to COVID that fall into one of those categories is something we cannot allow. However, we know that we've got a lot of great leaders that are out there that can work through this. We got a lot of students who are virtual. Our teachers who are at the highest risk can teach virtually. This is what it takes to make a school building safe, not just for children, which we talk about all the time. That's incredibly important. My children will be going into those buildings, but it's got to be safe for those educators too. Remember, we've already lost a custodian, 2 bus drivers, a teacher, and a student. That's the bare minimum that we know about. We want to make sure we don't lose any more. Next point, the Healthy at School guidelines, which have been guidelines, will now be mandatory starting January 4th, 2021. Fifth, daily reporting must continue. That is the dashboard that's reported on so that parents can see in real time, day to day and week to week, number of positive tests, number of quarantines, so that they can get an accurate picture and make a real-time decision on their child and whether it is safe for them to be in in-person instruction. And last, and this is a recommendation that came from both KDE and from the Kentucky Department of Public Health. We recommend, but this is a recommendation, that schools not return to in-person learning sooner than January 11th, 2021. And let me explain why that is. Normally you'd start back on the 4th, but the need to have 14 days, the cycle of the virus, between Christmas and New Year's, when we expect, and certainly Christmas, lots of individuals to get together, so we're going to ask people to keep it small, is another potential super spreader event. Now, this is not a mandate, but it is much safer to start your in-person instruction on the 11th than on the 4th. So that is the basic outline. Yes, there's going to be a lot to fill in, but we believed it was important to lead with this information as early as we can, and we'll be receiving more feedback. We've already received a lot of feedback from now and to when it all goes in writing. We expect to have that executive order out this week.